What if I told you that the greatest genius of our time was once considered a failure? That the man who reshaped our understanding of the universe struggled to speak as a child, was rejected by universities, and spent his early years working as a lowly clerk, dismissed by the very institutions he would later revolutionize? Albert Einstein. A name synonymous with brilliance, yet few truly understand the battles he fought. Not just with equations, but with rejection, self-doubt, and a world that was not ready for his mind. He wasn't just a scientist. He was a dreamer, a rebel, a man who questioned everything, even reality itself. His ideas would shatter the very fabric of space and time. But before he became the face of genius, he was just another young man, lost, misunderstood, and struggling to find his place in a world that didn't seem to want him. So, how did Einstein go from an unnoticed patent clerk to a Nobel Prize-winning physicist? What was the secret force that drove him beyond his failures? And what can we, in our own struggles, learn from the mind of this extraordinary man? This is the untold story of Albert Einstein. To understand Einstein's journey, we must step back into a world on the edge of transformation. The year was 1879. Germany, an empire driven by discipline and order, was no place for dreamers. And yet, in the small city of Ulm, a child was born, one whose mind would later defy the very laws of reality. But little Albert was different from the start. He didn't speak fluently until he was almost 4, often pausing to whisper sentences under his breath before saying them out loud. His parents worried. His teachers doubted him. In school, he was slow to answer, uninterested in rote memorization, and unwilling to blindly accept authority. The rigid German education system had no patience for a boy who asked too many questions. By his teenage years, Einstein had developed a deep disdain for traditional schooling. To him, it was a prison, one that crushed curiosity instead of cultivating it. "The only thing that interferes with my learning," he would later say, "is my education." Eventually, he left formal schooling behind, a dropout before the world even knew his name. But Einstein's story wasn't just about academia. It was about rejection. After failing the entrance exam to the prestigious Swiss Federal Institute of Technology, he barely scraped his way in on a second attempt. Even then, his professors dismissed him as an unremarkable student. No university offered him a job. No one saw his potential. And so, at 22 years old, Einstein found himself working not in a grand laboratory, but in a patent office in Bern, Switzerland, reviewing other people's ideas while his own remained unheard. Little did the world know that inside this quiet office, history was about to change. A dusty desk, stacks of patents, endless paperwork. This was not the setting for a scientific revolution. And yet, inside that dimly lit patent office in Bern, Einstein was conducting the most important experiments of his life. Not with lab equipment, but inside his own mind. He called them Gedankenexperiments, thought experiments. While others relied on instruments, Einstein relied on imagination. He would close his eyes and ask impossible questions. What would it be like to ride a beam of light? What if time wasn't absolute? Could space itself bend and stretch? These weren't idle fantasies. They were the seeds of ideas that would shatter the very foundations of physics. But the world still wasn't ready for him. In 1905, what scientists now call the Annus Mirabilis, or Miracle Year, Einstein published 4 groundbreaking papers. Each one challenged the very nature of reality. One of them introduced the world to E equals mc squared, a simple equation that held the power of the stars. Another laid the foundation for quantum mechanics, a field that would later change technology forever. And yet, the world barely noticed. Einstein, still just a lowly patent clerk, sent his papers to the most prestigious scientific journal of the time. No institution backed him. No university recognized him. He had no doctorate, no academic title, just a relentless mind and an unwavering belief in his ideas. And then, the ripples began. A handful of physicists saw his brilliance. Slowly, word spread. His theories, once dismissed as the ramblings of an unknown clerk, started reshaping the very fabric of science. But just as his mind soared to new heights, the world around him was descending into chaos. By the 1910s, Einstein's work had gained recognition. But recognition alone wasn't enough. He needed proof. His theories were radical, challenging the very bedrock of Newtonian physics. One of his boldest claims? That gravity wasn't just a force. It was the bending of space and time itself. It was an idea so audacious that only the universe itself could confirm it. Then came the perfect test. A solar eclipse in 1919. British astronomer Sir Arthur Eddington set out to photograph starlight bending around the sun, just as Einstein's general theory of relativity predicted. If he was right, it would change everything. If he was wrong, he would fade into obscurity. The results? Staggering. The light had indeed bent, precisely as Einstein had calculated. The world gasped. Overnight, the unknown patent clerk became a global icon. The newspapers declared, "Einstein overthrows Newton." But fame came at a cost. As his ideas spread, so did opposition. Some scientists resisted change. Others called his theories absurd. And in the shadow of rising anti-Semitism in Germany, Einstein, who was Jewish, became a target of hostility. His equations were dismissed as Jewish science by the Nazis. As the world edged toward war, Einstein found himself not just a scientist, but a man caught in the storm of history. And then, a letter, one that would haunt him forever. In 1939, as whispers of a terrifying new weapon surfaced, Einstein, along with physicist Leo Szilard, signed a letter to President Franklin D. Roosevelt. It warned that Germany might be developing an atomic bomb. This letter set in motion the Manhattan Project, the very program that would create the bomb that devastated Hiroshima and Nagasaki. When the mushroom clouds rose, Einstein was not in the labs. He had no hand in building the bomb, but he knew. His equation E equals mc squared had unlocked its power. For the rest of his life, he would advocate for peace, haunted by the destruction his work had indirectly enabled. But even in his final years, Einstein never stopped questioning, never stopped seeking truth. Not just in the universe, but within himself. Einstein's story isn't just about genius. It's about resilience, curiosity, and the power of an unshakable mind. He wasn't born a genius. He wasn't handed success. He was rejected, underestimated, and doubted at every turn. And yet, he changed the world. So, what can we learn from him? How can we apply Einstein's mindset to our own lives? Lesson 1. Question. Everything Einstein didn't accept the world as it was. He asked why and what if. He challenged the status quo, even when it made him an outsider. In our own lives, growth begins when we stop taking things at face value. Question your limitations. Challenge conventional wisdom. Innovators aren't those who accept reality. They are the ones who dare to reshape it. Lesson 2. Imagination is power. The true sign of intelligence, Einstein once said, is not knowledge but imagination. He didn't just memorize formulas, he dreamed up worlds beyond them. The biggest breakthroughs in life often come not from logic alone, but from creative thinking. Whether in business, relationships, or personal growth, dare to imagine new possibilities. Lesson 3. Persistence over talent. Einstein failed his entrance exam. He was rejected by universities, but he never stopped pushing forward. Many of us give up at the first sign of failure, thinking it defines us. But Einstein proved that failure is just a stepping stone. The people who change the world aren't necessarily the smartest. They are the ones who refuse to quit. Lesson 4. Stay humble. Stay curious. Despite his fame, Einstein never saw himself as superior. He remained a student of the universe, always learning, always questioning. The moment we think we have all the answers is the moment we stop growing. Stay curious, stay open, never stop learning. Lesson 5. Use your gifts for good. Einstein's equation unlocked the secrets of the universe, but it also led to destruction. He spent his later years advocating for peace, proving that intelligence means nothing without wisdom. In our own lives, the question isn't just how we succeed, but why. Success without purpose is empty. True greatness lies in using our talents to uplift, not destroy. Einstein's story is a reminder. You don't have to fit in. You don't have to be accepted. You don't have to follow the path others expect of you. Because sometimes, the ones who see the world differently are the ones who change it forever. Albert Einstein was not a god among men. He was not born into privilege or handed a golden key to success. He was a dreamer, a misfit, a man who wandered through the corridors of rejection and failure before stepping into the light of discovery. And yet, his legacy endures, not just in physics, but in the way we think, question, and push beyond our perceived limits. If there is one lesson to take from his life, it is this: brilliance is not about being the smartest person in the room. It is about being the most relentless, the courage to question, the resilience to fail, the vision to see beyond what others believe to be possible. So ask yourself, what are the invisible walls in your life? The labels that others have placed on you, the doubts that whisper in the back of your mind, telling you that you are not enough. Because if a so-called failed student could redefine the very fabric of the universe, what could you accomplish if you refused to give up? The world does not need more people who follow the rules without question. It needs more thinkers, more dreamers, more rebels who dare to defy expectations. Maybe it needs someone like you. What are your thoughts? What's one thing from Einstein's life that inspires you the most? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this story, subscribe for more untold lessons from history's greatest minds. Until next time, keep questioning, keep imagining, and never stop seeking your own truth.